It's so nice to see everyone here this morning on this beautiful day. How about that show we had last night? Thunder and lightning and downpour of rain. Magnificent, wasn't it? Yeah. Magnificent. And then to wake up and have the sun come out, that was great as well. So we're happy you're here this morning. We're glad that you could join us. Those of you who are here and those of you who are joining us online, welcome. I have a few items to mention before we get fully into the service, and one is on the back table. We have prayer request forms. We love to pray here, and so if you have anything that's heavy on your heart or anything you want us to celebrate with you, please feel free to fill out one of those prayer request forms and put it in the prayer box. It's up to you whether you sign your name or not, because God knows. And so just feel free to fill one of those out, and Reverend Yvonne and I will pray with you and for you all week. Also on the back table is a form you can fill out if you want to be added to our mailing list when we send out our e-blasts. We will be sure to include you. So that being said, again, I'm happy to see everyone, and I think we have some beautiful music this morning.
Every step is sacred, every moment new. When my heart is open, I see God in you. Life is a mystery unfolding every day. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way. Every step is sacred, every moment new. When my heart is open, I see God in you. Life is a mystery unfolding every day. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way. Every step is sacred, every moment new. When my heart is open, I see God in you. Life is a mystery unfolding every day. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way.
Beautiful, thank you. They always amaze me when they share their talent with us. Again, thank you so much. Let's give them a little more love. So we've come to that time in our service where we get to bless our children and all the children of the world and the child within each one of us. So if you would join me, please, in our blessing of the children. We see you, who you really are, made in the image and likeness of God. We cherish you, we support you, and we love you. And so from this space of love, let's move into that heart space where we commune with the divine and join with me in prayer, knowing there is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is perfect, knowing that each one of us is an individualized expression of the one, God, God who is light and love and peace and joy, God who is health and wholeness and abundance. I know there is absolutely nothing outside of God. We are one with it. And so as I speak my word this day, I speak it knowing truly light and love and laughter fills our hearts, our minds, and our activities this week. I know that we move through this week with ease and grace, with joy in our hearts. I know that each person we meet, we salute as a child of the one, knowing that we are one with all that is. And I am grateful. I am grateful for the opportunity we have to see and express that divinity. I am grateful for the light and the love that shines forth through each one of us. I give great thanks now as I release this word to the perfect working of the perfect law, which always, always, and only says yes. Please join me in affirming, and so it is. Amen.
Every step is sacred, every moment new. When my heart is open, I see God in you. Life is a mystery unfolding every day. My soul's evolution, the gift upon my way.
So much. Thank you so much. And Audie, that horn was wonderful. Thank you so much, Audie. Whew. And of course, Dawn and Jamila. Yes. Oh, my. So good morning, everyone. All you fabulous godlings out there. I love it when I can look out and see all these beautiful faces that are a reflection of God's power, grace, love, and joy. Oh, my goodness. So it's lovely to be here with you. I want to tell you about a man who went to the theater here just recently. He went to see one of our movies downtown, and what he saw when he got in there and sat down was a colorful caterpillar in the seat next to him. He looks at this caterpillar and he says, "Excuse me, are you a caterpillar?" And you know, the caterpillar said, "Why, yes, I am." And the man said, "I've just got to ask you, what are you doing here?" And caterpillar replied, "Well, I read the book first. I came to see the movie." Oh, I love laughter. I love laughter. And I love joy that comes with our laughter. So thank you for indulging with me. I want to welcome you again to our center here and tell you that we are here because we know that we can stand under the shelter of each other. We know that we are part of this tapestry of life and love and joy and creative expression, and we also know that God is all there is. God is all there is. And so your life, my life, it's a part of the life, the only life there is, the God life. And doesn't that give you pause for a moment and then a great and deep feeling of there's more than what I'm facing. There's more to life than what I've been through. There's more to life than the expectations that haven't been met and the fears that I have encountered. There's more to life because God is all there is. So we know that because we know that the same intelligence that created the stars and the galaxies and the planets also created all life. So that's all life on our planet. That's you and me, it's all the humans, it's all the sentient beings, it's the plants, the rivers, everything that exists, the animals, everything that exists is out of that creation, the power of creation. So spirit is present within all. And because that spirit is present within all, then spirit's present within all possibility. Everything that is a possibility, and anything is a possibility, spirit is in. So in this moment, let's just take a breath and take this in. In this moment, whatever you might have held, and ask yourself, is this really possible? I invite you in the next breath to say, through spirit it is. I don't know how, I don't know when, but spirit, through spirit, it's possible. We live because life lives us, not because we live in life. Life lives in us. Life lives us. We live because life lives us. That energy, that force of God lives in us, as us. And we move because of this natural, universal energy that flows through us. We move and live and have our being in spirit. And we think because there's a divine intelligence that thinks through us, that's available to us. So we think, we move, and we have our being in the very same nature of life that created the galaxies, the planets, and the stars, and everything that populates all of it. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Now, I want to share a story with you. Have you heard of, any of you heard of the Kindness Unites paper chain? Well, let me tell you about it. During the pandemic, there was an organization called Kids for Peace. And what they did was they got together in an elementary school in California with the idea, what can we do to help these kids who are being moved out of their social structure and into social isolation? What is it we could do and help them do? So they contact the children, the teachers in the schools, and they got the children together, and they realized that rather than feeling sadness and apathy, these children wanted more. They wanted to reach out to others. Just because they were isolated didn't mean they wanted to be in isolation. So what they did was they decided to reach out to others with the idea of making the world's largest paper chain. A chain of kindness with sayings of hope, love, and peace to inspire others around the world. That's what they decide to do. You know what a paper chain is? You take a piece of paper, whatever size, probably uniform size, and then you write on it, and then you staple the ends or glue it. You know, we put paper chains on Christmas trees years ago as a family. But that's what these children decided. And what began as a small effort by a few students quickly morphed into hundreds of schools making chains. I read that every state in the United States there was a school, or at least one, that participated. Schools in Canada participated. Schools in other countries participated. And it took nearly 2 years of making these paper chains, covering the pandemic time, right? Covering the pandemic. And once they got them all together, it took a huge group of individuals 6 days of measuring once they got them all hooked together. 554 schools, as I said, participated, and they had over 360,000 links, these love links that had hope and peace and joy and love written on them. So hundreds of thousands of people joined in, and they set a new world record, which when the chain was measured, after it took 6 days to lay it out and measure it, it was 18 miles long. 18 miles of love messages that these children, the children throughout our world, created. Now, do they set a standard for us? Do they set do they see a world of hope and love and joy and peace and connectedness and unity? They must carry that within them, or they wouldn't be expressing it as such. And like I said, a new world record was set in this world's longest recycled paper chain with the messages of hope and love. One idea, one small group. And that's how it is. That's how our energy, that's how our intention, that's how our joy, that's how our anger goes out. I mean, it all goes out the same way. And so we want to be awake and conscious of it, what it is that we're intending and what it is that we're sending out. This massive symbol, this 18 miles, I don't know, how far is it to Whitefish from here? 12 miles. Can you imagine driving to Whitefish and halfway back and seeing a continuous paper chain of love, all these words, hope, peace. And you know the power of your word. You know your word is sacred. You know that your word is the holy expression that you're giving to life. So this massive symbol of love and hope will live on forever and remind us that we're all linked. We're all linked by our thoughts. We're all linked together by, and can be linked together by kindness, because it has the power. Kindness has the power to unite us all. When we can be kind to that person that we may not know so well or know at all, when we can be kind to that person who looks different than we do. How about the person who thinks differently than we do? How about the person that we've assumed thinks differently than we do? If we can move from that place of kindness into that unity of life, we will bring the same power that those children have to lift them up. We will add to their individual and collective power to lift them up, to create a world that works better for all of us. Now, you know, we can't really conceive of exactly what the Creator is, what God is, what the infinite is, because it's infinite. And we can't conceive of it because we have finite knowledge and wisdom. But we can feel it. We can feel what God is, and we can see what God is in even the fraction of what we can see out here in life. And we can feel it with all the joy and all the goodness and everything we have within us, to know that it's part of God that we're experiencing. We can feel God. We can feel God. I can't describe what God looks like, but I can tell you what God feels like. God is good. God is love. God is joy. God is silence. We all know. But are we identifying God? Because it's kind of like, how do you know an artist without looking at the work? How can you know the artist without looking at the creation? How can we know the Creator without acknowledging what the Creator has created? Rumi said, I went out looking for myself and discovered only God. And then I went out looking for God and discovered only myself. So we are in this part of our process of life is discovery. I actually think that's the greatest thing I can use for my own individual freedom is discovery. Knowing I don't know everything. Accepting it's okay not to know it all. And accepting it's okay to have made mistakes. And correcting. So discovery is such a beautiful tool to use for self-freedom. And isn't our human body and our mind one of the greatest things that the Creator has given us to look at and say, this is a marvelous thing? You all know I had a little incident. Everything I have that happens to me, whatever, it's called the little incident. That's what I call it. So I had a little incident where I couldn't hardly walk for 5 weeks. You know, it took time and all of that. But here's the deal. Here's what happens. I can focus. Now, I'm thinking I should be fully recovered now. I'm having a little issue with a little incident again. But here's the thing. I can focus on what isn't working, which just means one little part of my body and part of the time, and not too bad. Or I can focus on the rest of it, my body, not excluding this little part, but including it in the whole. And it's like, oh yeah, 97% of me works. Why didn't I think of that when I was whining yesterday about it? You know, we get to look at this marvelous creation we call body, we call mind, we call beingness, that we call whatever we call ourselves. And it's God's creation. And it's magnificent. We know the Creator when we know its creation to a greater degree. We can lovingly say, I now can appreciate the flies that come. I've never liked little black flies nor big black flies. I have never appreciated them. But one was buzzing around yesterday outside. He never got in my house. He was outside. I was sitting on my swing, and it was just I was fascinated. I was fascinated to watch that fly. Now, do I want a swarm of them in my house? No, ma'am. No, sir. But I could appreciate in that moment God's creation. I have a friend who shared with me, I called her up for prayer support. That's how I got out of the 3% that was bugging me with the leg and got into the 90%, 97% of my body that was still working. I called her up and I was whining to her. And she said, let me just share something with you, Yvonne. She said, when I was in Seattle, when she was living in Seattle, she said, I so appreciated the lushness, the green. You know, it's just constant year-round. It's fabulous. I moved up there. I loved it too. And now she lives in a different part of the country, and where it's at this year, it's very arid where she's living right now. And she said, guess what I discovered yesterday? And I'm like, probably not a snake, was it? She knows I'm not fond of snakes. She said, no. Out in her yard, which is mostly brown because they also have a water, they can't use water for watering their lawns or plants. She said there's some little sprigs of grass, new grass coming up. She felt such awe and such delight to see that there's this new life coming out of this dead grass. And she said, you know, I've never appreciated grass as much as I did yesterday when I saw those little sprouts coming up. You know, we can be surrounded. We are, each one of us. We're surrounded by God's goodness. We're surrounded by the infinite creation. And it's so easy to say we enjoy it, or we don't enjoy it, or it's really nice, or show it to someone else. But do we take the time to sit down and just be in the moment completely with the nature of God's creation, whatever it might be, the nature of God's creation. Because nature itself supports us just like we take care of our planet, we take care of our animals, things on the planet, and we can do a better job if we make up our minds to, because we see this crisis and that crisis come up, and we can respond to them from that place of recognizing it's part of God's creation. Of course we'll respond from that place of love to it. We may, because we're in relationship with everything. So we want to engage in life. You know, we want to really engage in life. This is the only life I've got. This is the only life you have that I know of. And it's not a spectator sport, just so you know. It's not a spectator sport. And standing on the sidelines means you're not participating in life. So how about this? How about if we just consider that you at your best, and your best means recognizing that you are the creation of God, and God intended for you to be here, God intended for you to be here with a purpose, just magnificently as you are. And that purpose might be for you that you're going to lift someone up. You're going to lift someone up. You're not going to take care of that person, have them dependent on you, but by being who you are, that you might lift another individual up. My friend yesterday, just talking to me and letting me tell her about what was bothering me, lifted me up to, it was so incredible. It was so incredible. I love to be able to be where I am honestly with someone and be lifted up out of it. I don't want them to join me in the muck. I really don't. I want to be lifted out of the muck. So I invite you to recognize that you are a person who can lift others up. So we'll do that by engaging in inspired living. What inspires you? What inspires you? Inspired living means that we are finding joy, we are finding peace, that we can be in harmony with life as it's going on. And it means also that we take the strength and the power and the wisdom and the intelligence within us to take us through the things that aren't so easy. So I invite you too to look at love as social activism. Love as social activism. As a young person, I was very active in many things that I really had a passion for. But I recognize that what I took with me in that passion was us against them, right against wrong. I'm not saying that's how activism is. I'm saying that was my mode of social activism. Justice. Tear the rest of them down. Justice. And now I find that I want love to be the social activism that I use. I invite you to know that it isn't something that we will go to within us. We don't go to the love within us. We come from the love that we are to respond to our passion, to be socially active. We respond from that place. And we can only do that when we know the creation of the Creator. When we know the creation of the Creator, which means we know ourselves. We don't separate out. We know unity with all things everywhere. Deepak Chopra said in his book, The Way of Gratitude, what you see, you become. What you see, you become. What you see is a selective act of attention. Although you are inundated by billions of bits of sensory impulses, you selectively filter out the vast majority. We filter out what doesn't fit with our belief systems, and we allow only a small fraction into our awareness. And quite often, what we are allowing into our awareness supports what we already have as a belief. Your attention and interpretations create what you see and ultimately what you believe. So you can see how we can have first impressions of things that may prove inaccurate because what we're seeing came and how we're interpreting it came from something we've already been carrying. We want to, oh my gosh, instead of showing up for life with an open eyes and a formed opinion, because we do like to be informed, but with a formed opinion, which can also create a set idea, and when we have a formed opinion and a set idea, we also really and truly have a limited experience. We have a limited experience. Let's show up instead of just with open eyes, with an open mind. Open mind and questions so that we can discover. And from discovery, we'll experience awe. And from experiencing awe, or the discovery and the awe, like my friend said, she was so delighted and so grateful for those sprigs of grass coming up. That's what we'll find. We'll find something to be appreciative of. And what gives us, well, how do we draw more good to into our lives? Well, one of the ways definitely is through gratitude, appreciation, singing the praise of Spirit and others. And then what do we experience? We experience more harmony, because whatever we're having, whatever we're claiming comes from within us, even though it might be triggered by what's out here. What we're experiencing comes from within us. The infinite must move through a filter, and we're that filter. How it moves into expression. So we can be that point of transformation. If we allow Spirit to move into us, we can be a point of transformation in whatever way we would choose to be, because Spirit will manifest. The qualities of God will manifest in an appropriate expression to meet our beliefs, our energy behind the belief, our ideas, our thoughts. It's all bringing something forward, just like those children. Can you imagine 360,000 plus slips of paper with love, peace, joy? 6 days to count them, to connect them, to measure them once they're connected, and 18 miles. 18 miles of love on paper. How good is that? We are called during this time, we are called to action. We're always being called into action. I mean, not just because of the pandemic, not just because of what's going on in our world. We're always called into action. Life is action. Life is movement. And if we are bold enough to say, the life within me will guide me. The life within me is me. And the life within me is needed as an expression in the world. Carl Sagan says, somewhere, something incredible is willing to be known. Are you willing to be a vehicle for that something? Are you willing to be a filter for that something wonderful to be known to someone else as well as yourself? It behooves us to be bold in our living. It behooves us to be authentic in our expression. And it is the grace, the mighty grace and the holy expression of God when we live from the love that we are. When we live from the love, not give the love, not share the love, but when we live from the love, which is all of that. It's all of that. And remember, we don't have to do it because it's expected of us. It's a natural inclination from within us to be loving. Do you know that I just read this, that only 5% of the people in the United States hunt now? 5% of the population. I grew up in a family where we hunted for our meat. And then as we progressed, we no longer hunted for our meat. But there was a time when a young family that I was in, we hunted for the meat we took. Now, I bring that up because we are progressing boldly going forward, and we'll leave some things behind. We'll leave some things behind. We'll make changes. Do we call them bad? Do we call them good and feel a loss, or bad and thank goodness? We can let them go and just move into progress. We can just move into life with an ease that doesn't call for a judgment of good or bad or making them right or wrong. It just calls for a boldness to live fully, to live bravely and fully from the experience of and understanding of the Creator, and you are its creation. That's what we're here to do. To be kind to each other, to come from that loving spirit, to be generous with each other as well as ourselves, to embrace forgiveness as your mighty tool. Forgiveness is your mighty tool. Forgiving self, forgiving others. We can do it differently. Our mission statement, again, is we are a loving presence, providing an environment for individual spiritual growth and healing. We do this under the shelter of each other. We do it with our feet firmly planted in truth, which is the power of God. Would you please join me in prayer? So last week, we sang a song, and the song was Karen Drucker's song, I Let God Do the Work. I let God sing the song, and I let God lead the way. And it comes out right. Let us keep those words. Let us embrace those words, and it comes out right. Because whenever we move into that space and that idea and that willingness to let God lead the way, to let God lead us into what is ours to do, what we're choosing to do, what we feel is ours to do, what we want to contribute, what we want to share, how much we want to receive and be part of with others. Just as we pray and make our declaration of love to our children every week and probably every day, let us claim that same declaration for living an inspired life, inspired by the very truth we carry within us, each one of us. For we are all the creation of the Creator. And as we go out into our world, we see the animals, and we know that's God's creation also, including that little black fly. And as we see nature, the lakes, the beautiful trees, whatever it is we're looking at, the sand on the beach, oh, and the water, the water, the water. May we feel that awe for all of God's creation. And may we respectfully participate in this thing called life, respectful of all creation, including ourselves, in ways that bring us harmony and peace and joy. And when we go out there and we look for God, may we see ourselves. And when we go out there and we look at others, may we see God. For it's all one. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make decisions when I'm standing at the fork at the road? Sometimes I wonder and I ponder, only to realize I'm not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own, 'cause I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body, live a life of grace and holiness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Oh, I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Beautiful, and truly, we are the place where God shows up, and allow that powerful presence to express itself through us as love. We are. So it's time in our service where we get to put into practice the law of circulation. For those of you in the sanctuary, there's a basket on the back table. For those of you online, there is a link on our website where you can donate. And it is the donations that we get from all you all that help us keep the doors open and keep moving on. So we really appreciate that. So if you would join me now in the prayer for circulation, I would appreciate that. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. So we want to thank everyone who's joined us today online. We love you and we bless you, and we hope you come back and see us again. Again, thank you for joining us.